Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well and enjoying the weather out there. Thank you very much for attending this year's series of Work With Us Wednesday webinars. We've got a really interesting one today, which I hope you will find useful. Just before I get started and hand over to our speaker for the day, I'll introduce myself. My name's Matt Hadlington and I'm the Senior Business Engagement Manager at HS2 Limited. I'll be hosting and facilitating the Q&A later on in the session today. And our speaker today is Robin Lapish, Supply Chain Manager from HS2 Limited. Before I pass over to Robin, I'll just give you a few general points. I'm sure we've all done a lot of these webinars by now, but this one's slightly different on Teams Live. So just to give you a bit of information, we know your time's precious, so we'll keep this webinar to the hour long that it's listed. There's lots of information to take in during this time. So we'll be recording this presentation and putting it on YouTube, as well as showing all the key links and information. And we'll send those out after the event. If you become disconnected or have trouble with the sound from this event, just simply rejoin and you'll be able to pick up where you left off. All attendees' microphones are muted during the session. However, we absolutely still want you to participate fully, and you could submit questions via the question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. If at any point during the conversation or the session today you want to ask a question, just click on the Ask a Question button, type in your question and hit send, and this will come straight through to me. I'll be keeping an eye on that panel throughout the session, and at the end of the presentation we'll answer as many of those as we have time to get through. Anything we don't get to, we'll be noting down and circulating an FAQ document following the event. There shouldn't be any technical issues during the session today, but should you experience any connection issues, if your feed freezes, just wait for about 10 seconds and ordinarily it will correct itself. If this doesn't happen, as I said before, just use the leave button to exit and then rejoin, and this will bring you back to where you left out. The slide here just gives you a few of the features on Microsoft Teams in case you're not familiar with it. Along the bottom there's play, pause, volume and full screen controls. And finally, it's important for us to try and improve and develop our engagement with our businesses as we go. So we want to learn more about what you think. So there'll be a feedback form at the end that we will circulate after the session to help us kind of work better with you. And without further ado, I'll hand over to our speaker today, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and very good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Robin Lapish. I'm a supply chain manager for HS2 Limited, and I've spent the past 6 years helping to develop this fantastic project. If you haven't heard of HS2, it's Britain's new low-carbon north-south high-speed railway. It will serve 25 stations, connect 30 million people, create more space on our existing railway and take hundreds of thousands of cars and lorries off of our roads. We don't often get the chance to do things like this in the UK, and to me this feels like the start of a new golden era of infrastructure investment with HS2 at its heart. Since we last held these webinars in 2020, we've made great progress on the project. We've started our major tunnelling programme, we've awarded another £1 billion worth of contracts, and the Act of Parliament for Phase 2A, extending the railway to Crewe, has been passed into law. On screen, you can see the latest at one of our largest sites, the Chiltern Tunnel South Portal. Our TBMs have started their 10-mile journey to the left under the M25 and the Chiltern Hills. And critical to delivering all of this mammoth job, are the services, supplies and amenities provided by local businesses and SMEs up and down the route. So to help you be part of the HS2 family, I want to give you 3 things today. Firstly, an understanding of the things we need. Secondly, an overview of what we're looking for from potential suppliers. And thirdly, tips on how to navigate procurement and stand out from the crowd. It's really important to us that we work hand in hand with you to ensure that you put your best foot forward in our tender processes and get as many of you on board as possible. Over 70% of our supply chain is made up of SMEs and 98% are UK-based businesses. So HS2 is a project being built by British ingenuity, by businesses large and small from every corner of our country. And we want British businesses to continue to take the lead in helping deliver a truly transformational railway. Allow me to give you a feel for where we're at. Heavy civil engineering on phase 1, 140 miles of brand new railway from London to Birmingham, is well underway. Last September marks the official start of main construction following 3 years of preparatory works. We have 273 active work sites with a huge range of work underway, from earthworks to ecology, bridge building to compound construction. Phase 2A extends the high-speed line to Crewe, a further 36 miles. And following Royal Assent in February, ground investigations are already underway, with major construction set to start in 2024. Phase 2B completes the Y-shaped network, extending from Crewe to Manchester and the northwest, and towards Leeds and the northeast via the East Midlands. And as instructed by government, we're preparing a hybrid bill to extend the routes from Crewe to Manchester as a priority. And we intend to deposit this bill into Parliament by early next year. So we're already well advanced with the delivery of HS2. And since last year, we've also let more contracts. Our most recent landmark procurement is the award of the contract to construct Birmingham Curzon Street Station, the city's HS2 terminus. Worth up to £570 million, the contract will see Mace Regardos work together with us under a 2-stage design and build arrangement to finalise the detailed design for the station before moving into construction. The station itself will be net zero carbon in operation and adopt the latest in sustainable technology. We look forward to working with them to engage with you and advertise supply chain opportunities in due course. Meanwhile, in other station news, this week we launched the procurement for the construction of our 4th and final station on Phase 1, Birmingham Interchange in Solihull in the West Midlands. So, who are our key contractors and what relevant opportunities have they got coming up? This slide shows the appointed Tier 1 contractors across our civils and stations categories. Their contact details can be found via our online contract opportunities table. Simply search HS2 contract opportunities. Balfour Beatty Vinci joint venture is delivering the main works between North Warwickshire, Birmingham and Staffordshire. This package alone comprises 42 viaducts, 66 overbridges and 35 cuttings. It's the single biggest civils package, requiring some 9,000 workers at peak. Moving south, EKFB joint venture, that's Eiffage, Kier, BAM, Ferrovial. They're delivering the main works from North Warwickshire down to the Chiltern Tunnel North Portal, a mostly rural section of route. Working further south still, we've got a line joint venture. That's a JV led by Bouygues, supported also by Sir Robert McAlpine and Volker Fitzpatrick. And they're delivering the Chiltern Tunnel and the Colne Valley Viaduct. And then in Greater London, SCS JV is delivering the main works in that area. In terms of the stations then, so BBVS, they are delivering the 14 platform station at Old Oak Common in West London. It will be a new super hub for that part of the city. And Mace Regardos, as I've explained, is delivering Curzon Street, but also London Euston in the heart of London as well. In addition to these, there will be opportunities arising from the early environmental works and early civil work contracts that have been awarded to Balfour Beatty across Phase 2A over the next year or so. And it's the likes of these organisations who could be your customer on HS2. All subcontract opportunities are advertised by our contractors on Compete For, which we will discuss in more detail shortly. Given where we are in the programme, some of the packages being procured by these contractors are quite large at present because they relate to the heavy engineering, the earthworks and the supply of material needed for the main works. However, there's also a list of more SME-friendly packages in their pipelines. And as the works evolve over the next 5 years or so, so too will the nature of the opportunities coming to market. So let's take a look at the main categories of opportunity that will arise in the supply chain of our main contractors. In green, you can see the categories being procured by all 4 main works civils JVs. But in reality, they're all likely to need all of these over time. Our contractors adopt a value-based approach to procurement, using balanced scorecards which take into account relevant social, economic and environmental factors. And they are required to maximise engagement with SMEs and ensure a level playing field. For example, through hosting direct engagement events. For instance, BBVS hold a quarterly supplier forum so they can get the latest on their forward procurement schedules. And also by participating in things like our annual Meets the Contractor event, which is hosted by HS2. So looking more specifically at the opportunities available, here you can see some examples. These are nationwide opportunities. You may be working on one of our 270 work sites along the route, or you may be helping to build a factory in Somerset which will produce our track slabs. Or you may be working on a manufacturing site in the northeast producing bridge beams. Or of course, if you're a consultancy or a tech business, you could be working from home wherever you're based. There's three main categories. Services, so just think of all the people on site and the services they will need. We'll have a workforce of 25,000 in a couple of years. Professional services, that's consultancy, specialist engineering, creative services. And thirdly, works. These are the heavy civils and construction materials, the supply of aggregate, steel, concrete products. It's fair to say that different contractors will need these services at different times over the coming months and years. But the main message here is that there is a long-term pipeline. For smaller organisations local to the line of route looking to engage with the project, we have a dedicated business and community engagement team with a dedicated area on our website providing guidance, advice and case study examples of how you can get involved further down the supply chain. You can register with this team to declare your area of expertise or interest and locations, and they will look to marry this up with any suitable guidance or opportunities. Over half of our 2,000 strong supply chain is local to the line of route. Here's our shopping list for local suppliers near the railway. You can see there's a wide and diverse range of requirements, but the main area of interest at present are likely to be around trade and construction. It's worth reiterating that this relates not only to the supplies that we might need to build the railway, but also to set up and run the compound sites such as building materials, electricals and plumbing, as well as worker welfare, services and support. Some of these opportunities will come directly through our tier 1 contractors, whereas others will come through their subcontractors and so on. To assist you in identifying our subcontractors, we have recently launched an indirect contracts table. This lists our critical tier 2 construction packages likely to give rise to further supply chain opportunities. It includes the suppliers delivering each package and a contact detail so you can get in touch directly. Suppliers with a proactive approach to business development, building their networks and really understanding client requirements are more likely to be rewarded. So simply search HS2 supply chain for the dedicated page on our website and scroll down until you see the link. So what are the main routes to securing work? Well, you can get involved throughout the supply chain, from bidding and winning full framework contracts to regular purchase orders and worker choice, i.e. where our workers spend their money locally. So think about where you might sit in the supply chain, who your customers might be, and the approach and the route to getting involved. It will of course depend on the type of service you're looking to offer. For opportunities which go through a formal tender process, here's an overview of the process. Remember, each contractor will buy in a slightly different way. Each procurement will depend on the nature, the scope and the scale of the package. Some will be more streamlined, a more streamlined version of what I'm about to explain to you. We require all relevant subcontract opportunities to be posted on Compete For to help suppliers like you identify and respond to opportunities. Compete For is an online brokerage service which helps to match demand with supply. So far, over 800 subcontract opportunities have been posted to Compete For since 2017, worth 895 million. So at an average value of circa 1 million, you can see the packages that are coming out of our main contractors range from the tens of thousands to the tens of millions. 99% of these have been awarded to UK businesses. So for us, it's a vital shop window in maximising the transparency of what we're buying, helping us to achieve our goal of building a truly diverse supply chain. Registration is easy, it's free of charge, and it ensures that you are automatically matched with relevant opportunities that you can then apply for. So let me take you through the key steps in creating a profile on Compete For. First, it's important to complete and publish a full business profile in order to be matched with contract opportunities. It will also allow you to search for and apply for opportunities. There are no right or wrong answers to completing your profile. However, to successfully register, you must have a health and safety policy if your organisation has 5 or more employees, an equal opportunities policy, and a quality management statement. And the information you provide to publish on your business profile is completely confidential and only passed to buyers when you apply for a contract and give permission for it to be used to evaluate your application. Number 2, organisation. This section asks for general information about your business, most of which is automatically replicated from the initial registration section. You can enter new details if you would like alternative information displayed in your business profile. Insurance and policies. These questions deal with policies your organisation might have. It also asks about your insurance policies, e.g. public liability and employers' liability insurance. Financial, you'll be asked to provide some financial information about your business, including your company registration number, if applicable, start date, and forecast annual turnover. Ownership diversity. So this section asks for the ethnicity, disability, gender, and sexual orientation of the ownership or leadership of your organisation. Information requested in this section is purely used for monitoring purposes and will not be supplied to buyers as part of your evaluation. Employee diversity. This section asks for the ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation of the employees within your organisation. Again, it's only used for monitoring purposes and will not be supplied to buyers. And finally, publish. It's essential that you submit and publish your business profile so buyers and other businesses will know you are registered and can contact you. You can choose to receive notifications of any specific contract opportunities by setting your email alert preferences. You can also keep track of your account using the Compete For Activity Centre, which has several tools that will help you to access contracts. So, moving into the second stage of the process, the pre-qualification and invitation to tender phase. So remember that each contractor may use a different procurement portal to run the process, and not all processes will include a pre-qual phase. But PQQ, if we do have one, the purpose of the PQQ is to show your business has the right experience and capabilities. It is backward looking, i.e. what you have done in the past. And you might be expected to reference previous projects as case studies, so do have these prepared. ITT, or invitation to tender, this is where you will be invited to tender against the specific scope of requirements. It's forward looking, i.e. your proposals for the specific job in hand. It is designed to test your approach to meeting the specification and requirements, and it's important that you're able to evidence these through thorough management plans against a range of things like HSC, quality, production, logistics, etc. And the evaluation is likely to be a combination of technical, quality, and commercial. But it's also important to demonstrate how you're going to support the delivery of HS2's wider strategic goals, and I'll explain more on this in a minute. The key is to focus on where you can add value. We recognise that procurement can be onerous and time-consuming, so at HS2 we've taken steps to reduce supply burden by streamlining our pre-qualification processes in line with industry standards such as PAS 91. And we're reducing the time it takes to procure. To support the supply chain, our common assessment standard will ensure that bidders looking for work with our 4 main work civils contractors will go through identical pre-qualification processes. The common assessment standard comprises an industry-agreed question set based on existing PQ questionnaires and corresponding assessment standards. Subcontractors and suppliers will have a choice in assessment in an assurance provider. Key players signed up to the common assessment standard include Achilles, Construction Line, and Chas. The new system will ultimately allow for greater consistency and efficiency, saving time and money for everyone. So let's move into the final stage of the process. If you're successful, you may be selected as the preferred bidder. During this time, there may be scope for final negotiation, so make sure you're happy with the contract. Once the contract's been awarded or the order placed, there will be a mobilisation period as you begin your work. Then, depending on how the contract is administered, regular review and feedback. This should be two-way, i.e. your performance and your customer's performance. It's similar to how we evaluate our performance alongside our direct suppliers. On a project like HS2, it's really important that smaller suppliers feel empowered to speak up when something isn't right or could be improved. And we have a real interest in what's happening further down the supply chain. To support this, we have visibility of who is tendering for and who is awarded key subcontracts. and it's important that your client is setting you up for success. To help bring this all to life, here's a short case study video of a company who's working in our supply chain. Concept Engineering is a London-based SME, which has now opened a second base in Coventry. The company provides specialist geotechnical, environmental and site investigation services, and they've been working on phase 1 for 2 years and have now won work on phase 2A. So watch and find out from Natalie and Anastasia about how they went about bidding and winning HS2 contracts.
Concept is an SME and we carry out ground investigation, structural and environmental surveys of sites.
We've worked with HS2 and SCS directly for about 2 years now, doing some additional ground investigation.
We first went through Compete For, registered all of our details and then put in keywords for site investigation and geotechnics, and when the opportunities arose we've applied through Compete For and we've been successful on a couple of projects now, and we could not be more delighted. With HS2 there's huge opportunities for Concept to further grow the business, both geographically and also in terms of turnover. We've been able to build and establish this laboratory off of the back of the work that we've already done for HS2 in the south of England, in London, and this is our preparation to make sure we're HS2 ready for the Midlands and the northern sections.
The Phase 2A project for Concept in the Midlands will engage approximately 50 new staff, which we are looking to obtain from the local community.
It's exposed us to main civil engineering tier 1 contractors and how they do business, and also joint ventures as well. To be able to work in a truly collaborative manner with a single team, with a one team, one goal ethos, it's really great for us, and we're learning every day.
It's been one of the best experiences we've ever had as a company. Everybody works together as a team.
The message I have for companies, SMEs in particular, is absolutely get involved with HS2. Don't be afraid, absolutely go for it. You will not regret it.
Okay, and that video is available to watch again on our YouTube channel, so simply search HS2 Concept Engineering and you'll be able to find it. It's important to consider how your business can help us and our contractors achieve the project's strategic goals. We use these as a framework for the way we evaluate tenders and to measure supply performance. For example, it's critical that we're a good neighbour to the communities who will host us during construction and operation, listening and caring for their needs and being considerate, professional and transparent at all times. This means no matter where you sit in our supply chain and no matter what you do, you are the face of HS2. So you must demonstrate the highest standards of safety, integrity and respect during all of your interactions. We're looking for your innovations for how we can meet or beat our targets. So for example, on carbon, we've set our contractors a 50% whole life carbon reduction target across our civil, stations and systems contracts. They need your help to achieve this. For instance, we're looking to see how we can utilise data and digital technologies to decarbonise during construction, whether to do with the materials used on site, our construction operations and logistics, or the energy and fuel used. Moving on, I want to provide you with some tips for maximising your chances of success during a bid. So what can you do to ready yourself before an opportunity becomes available? It's important to lay the groundwork. Take time to understand HS2's vision, values and strategic goals. They will translate into procurement documents. Review our supplier guide to familiarise yourself with what we're looking for and think about how to position your business to best support. We want you to write HS2 into your business plans. Have policies in place before the procurement starts: health and safety, quality, diversity and inclusion, quality, environmental, etc. They don't have to be onerous, they can only be a page, and you can often find support and template policies through your local Chamber of Commerce or local enterprise partnership. Register with the right online tools. All direct HS2 opportunities are now posted on the government's Find a Tender service. All indirect, i.e. tier 2 and below, opportunities are posted on the Compete For website. If you're not registered, you won't hear about opportunities. So sign up to receive tailored alerts and allocate responsibility to someone in your business to searching through opportunities, maybe 10 minutes twice a week. Remember that often opportunities on Compete For are only posted for a couple of weeks, so it's easy to miss things. When opportunities do arise, please take immediate action because the window for responses may well be small. Build your network. Attend events like today, forums, and build personal relationships with peers in other businesses. Reach out to our contractors. We publish contact details and emails for all awarded suppliers on our contract opportunities table on the hs2.org.uk website. Also check out our online supply chain maps, which shows who is in our supply chain and where they're based. We publish company names where GDPR allows. Consider social media. This can be a great way to market your business, but all interactions should have a clear purpose and focus. Have a clear value proposition and a target output to every post or interaction. Think about what sets your business apart. And finally, seek advice and help from local business support services. They often have a range of really good free resources. So once an opportunity lands, what should you do next? Well, interrogate the opportunity. Take the time to really understand the specific requirements. What's the scope of the package and delivery schedule? What's the proposed contract value, duration, and structure? Which other suppliers will you need to interface with? Are there any conflicts of interest considerations? Will it prohibit you from other work? But also, what's the growth potential? Will it lead to the prospect of future work and domino opportunities? Will it raise your profile? Ultimately, is it the right strategic fit for your business? Understand the process. Are you crystal clear on what's required, how the procurement process will work, the evaluation criteria, the response deadlines, and the portals through which you must submit your documents? Be really clear on what the rules of the game are. Understand the competition. What's it likely to be? Where do you fit into the market? What's your current workload like? Do you have the time and resources to produce a strong bid? Can you realistically win? Consider partnering with other suppliers if appropriate. Don't be put off if you can only do part of the scope. Consider teaming up to provide a more compelling proposal. Just look at our JVs, where UK expertise is often partnered with international high-speed rail experience. Be true to your core competencies. Challenge yourself by all means, but build upon your core strengths as a business rather than a scattergun approach, which might lead you off on tangents. No doubt you have a limited budget and resource for bidding, so pick your targets carefully. And once you've decided to go for it, how can you maximize your chances of success? Well, make a plan. Get someone to manage the tender process, allocate tasks, set deadlines, hold a kickoff meeting. Ask questions if you're not sure. This is really important to use the procurement portals. All clarifications should be directed via these. So express your interest early on so you get all the Q&A material and can see any changes. Understand exactly what's required and when. So the word limits, formats, PDFs, attachments, references, etc. and begin to start pulling everything together from an early stage. Crucially, evidence your capabilities and your approach to delivering the works or the service. Avoid making hollow statements or assertions without evidence. Show us where you've done it before. This is really important. And when referencing policies, don't just consider them as inputs, consider the outputs. So what did the policy enable you to achieve? Can you measure and therefore demonstrate a change in performance as a result? For example, has your EDI policy led to a change in approach to, say, flexible working? Has that enabled you to retain a more diverse workforce with, say, more working mums or people with disabilities? It's important to gather the data on this sort of thing so that you can evidence it in tenders. Don't underestimate the importance that HS2 places on the likes of EDI, skills, sustainability, innovation, health, safety and well-being. They could well be the difference between winning and losing a bid. Consider any case studies to supplement your proposals. What went well? What could have been improved? Demonstrate those lessons learned and implemented. Importantly, answer the specific question that's being asked, considering any weightings. Avoid copying and pasting previous answers and pay attention to the word and page limits or other formatting requirements. And again, it may sound obvious, but use plain English and make sure the answers are succinct and easy to read. Keep sentences short and paragraphs short. Use headings and subheadings, bullets and numbering to break up the text, and don't use jargon. You need to make it easy for the assessors. And importantly, remember that assessors can only evaluate you based upon what's written down. So just because you've worked with a client before, don't assume an individual assessor will know anything about you. So put everything on paper. And finally, submit before the day of the deadline to guard against any IT issues. So whatever the outcome, how can you learn from the experience? Well, always ask for feedback from the buyer, understand what you could improve. Have a lessons learnt meeting based on your experiences and handling of the bid. Save all of your documents electronically using a clear filing system so it's easy to find next time. Reflect on why the procurement outcome was reached, irrespective of whether you won or not. Understand what you can do better or differently next time. And try again if you don't succeed first time. And if you did, keep pursuing opportunities, building upon your success. We've seen many examples of suppliers winning multiple contracts on HS2, and the first one may well be the hardest one to win. The important thing to remember is that a project the scale and longevity of HS2 will keep producing opportunities. There will likely be a niche that's just right for you and your business. So I want to move on and talk about an exciting innovation opportunity that we've just launched. Last week, we opened up applications to the third cohort of suppliers under our flagship Innovation Accelerator programme. In partnership with the Connected Places Catapult, we're looking for 5 more SMEs to develop new thinking, technology and processes in 2 specific areas. Firstly, how digital tech can shrink our carbon footprint, and secondly, how we can further raise health and safety standards, drive down risks to prevent injury and strengthen site security. Those selected to participate will benefit from business growth expertise and are hosted in residence at Brontwood SciTech Innovation Campus in Birmingham. SMEs contribute to over 50% of the innovation projects on the HS2 portfolio. The Accelerator programme allows closer, more agile and cost-effective working relationships with SMEs and client organisations to grow and mature their business and technical offerings for investment, procurement and adoption. We've got 10 businesses on board already, so we look forward to welcoming the next 5. So moving into my final slide for today, here's a recap of what you can do now. Please sign up and attend the events and webinars held with our stakeholders, as well as by the HS2 business supply chain teams. This, of course, is the first in a new weekly series of Wednesday webinars. Please do register on Compete4. If you do nothing else today, please do make sure that you are registered on Compete4, that your profile is up to date, and that you're ready to receive opportunities. Make sure you register as a local business with the business engagement team if you have not done it already so, particularly if you're along the line of route. And work with local business organisations as well. They can often be a great source of help and guidance. And lastly, use the free resources on offer, our website, supply guide, supply chain FAQs, contracts tables, case studies. The Supply Chain School, of which HS2 is a member, provides a great range of free resources, self-assessment tools and other resources. And you can also email us directly at scc@hs2.org.uk. So I really hope that's been helpful, and I'll now hand back to Matt to wrap up and move into the Q&A. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Robin. That was great. Lots of useful information in there, hopefully, for everybody. You're a quiet bunch in the Q&A, although there are a few in. So we will start to move through some of those questions now. If you do want to ask Robin or me anything at all about HS2, supply chain opportunities, any of what you've heard just now, please do put it into the chat, because we've got a reasonable period of time left, and we would love to kind of have a bit more of a conversation with you about that, and try and give you any guidance that we can whilst we've got you all here. So the first question that's come in is a bit more of a comment, but I'll try and word it as a question, Robin. Often the due date on tenders is too short and my company passes because we don't have enough time to prepare our bid. I guess, you know, is there anything that we do as a project or our contractors do to kind of help with that situation? And is there a reason that that period is so short in sometimes, do you think?
Yeah, sure. I guess it ultimately depends on what's being bought and the urgency of that particular product or service, I guess. So we do see different tender response periods based upon the complexity and the scale of the package that's being brought forward. Some of them can be many weeks, others can be much less than that. So if there's any specific examples that anyone has where they feel that, you know, a longer tender window would have been helpful, then please let us know directly and we can raise that with the relevant contractor, I think is what the message would be on that one. You know, they are needing to go out and procure things quite urgently to meet the program. As you know, we're very much in full swing now. So, you know, there is a sense of urgency of getting on with things. So yeah, that may in some cases translate into relatively short tender windows, which is why it's important to be quite proactive in terms of identifying those opportunities before a tender lands. And we do work with the contractors as well to make sure that they are giving a forward visibility of upcoming opportunities, so that it's not just you know, a contract kind of landing out of the blue. It's something that's been, you know, they've warmed the market up to, so you can already be thinking about how you can respond before the actual documents go live. But yeah, certainly take that feedback on board, and more than happy to follow up with any specific examples.
Thank you. And yeah, I think from my perspective, in terms of my conversations with some of the contractors who are procuring these services, is they're very keen to engage with businesses, as are our HS2 supply chain team. So if there are issues, we're really interested to know how the supply chain is working and how the procurement process is working for businesses of all types and sizes. So I think giving feedback at any point is really helpful for everybody. It just helps us kind of finesse the program and how things work. A question from Rohit, which I think was related to the innovation portal. Could the program that we talked about with innovation involve utilizing AI? I guess that would be one thing we would look at, wouldn't it?
Quite possibly. So the first competition question area, if you like, on the Innovation Accelerator program for this third iteration of the competition, the first one is all around digital technology to reduce the carbon footprint. So, for instance, artificial intelligence may be something that could help with that, as long as it's achieving the end result that we're looking for. The kind of the method in which that's achieved is sort of up for grabs, really. That's for, you know, for you guys to come forward and submit your ideas, really. So yeah, by all means, apply, submit your ideas, and you know, we'll see what happens thereafter. The window, I think, is until the 24th of June, if I remember rightly. So you've got a couple of weeks to think about those ideas. But the reason that we provide the problem statements, if you like, is to give a bit of focus to these innovation competitions, so they're not just pure scattergun, but there's a real focus on our business need as a project, to sort of try and target your efforts and energies in particular directions. So carbon is clearly a massive priority for us at the moment, hence why, you know, you've got a big emphasis on that at present.
Cool, thanks, Robin. I'll just work through these questions as they've come in, because there's some good ones in here. So a simple question, hopefully, when is Birmingham Curzon Street estimated to be finished again?
In terms of the construction of the station, I can't be 100% sure on that one. They'll be beginning construction in the sort of coming years, and clearly it'll be ready for the opening of the railway towards the end of the decade. But the specific date in which that's due to be finished, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Yeah,
we're still working through some bits of that program, and then a couple of other bits here. Will the slides be shared? Yes. Are we automatically registered for the next webinar? No. So you'll have to go through the link and click to register on individual sessions. We wanted to do it that way so that people could pick and choose which sessions they found useful. So you will have to go and register for the other one. I am just getting through these. I've been speaking with contractors on HS2, and most of our products that we supply need to be specified design by an engineer. What is the best way to get into contact with engineers to discuss design proposals before procurement? I don't know if we have any guidance on that, do we, Robin? Or is that quite a specific question we might have to take away?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. I mean, this is where companies that engage with us through things like the Innovation Accelerator program get that access. They get that access to our leading engineers and our contractors' engineers to start having those conversations in advance of any procurement. So that's why we introduced that program, is to try and have those early conversations and develop solutions jointly with the market. In advance of any competition. So I mean, there's certainly other mechanisms that we have. I mean, events that we run specific to individual categories, for instance, may involve engineers and colleagues of ours internally within HS2 that can come and present and talk about the technical scope and the requirements of the particular category, and that can be a helpful way of raising awareness to the market. In terms of access to technical experts in our contractors, I'm not sure how there's a forum in which that can be facilitated. Certainly the contacts we provide online are typically the procurement contacts, who in turn I'm sure could pass people on to relevant internal experts within the contracting teams if that would be of use. But if there is specifically you want to talk about, then feel free to drop us an email, and we always do pass it on to individual technical experts within HS2 to gauge their response. So feel free to use the scc@hs2.org.uk mailbox in the first instance if you do want to have a conversation around a particular technical aspect of the project.
Thanks, Robin. Hopefully that helped. This one is quite a specific one, I think, but also quite relevant because I think we get asked a similar question to this quite a lot. So Rick is an environmental sustainability consultant in the kind of Lee Loughton area of the routes, specialises in assuring construction management plans and large-scale linear construction projects. His question, though, is, are these types of services likely to be undertaken by larger Tier 1 contractors themselves, or is it worth him tendering as a micro SME? So, you know, I guess every service is different, but with things of that nature, you know, what gets picked up by our big Tier 1s and what goes out to market, if you like? Is there a hard and fast rule, or is it?
It will vary on the contractor. I guess they each have a different sourcing model in terms of what they do in house versus what they're looking to subcontract. I would suggest that for services like that, if there's a particular specialism that would add value to what they're doing already in terms of construction management, then by all means there may be an opportunity. Certainly, I know they've been using technology to assist with some of these management plans, flow of logistics, optimizing everything that they're doing on site. So that's where the kind of innovation comes in and may translate into a supply chain opportunity. So I would suggest in that instance it's worth getting in touch with the contractor teams directly to understand if there is support that they require in that space. And by all means keep us in the loop in terms of how you get on.
Thank you. A quick one here. Where can we find a copy of HS2's supply chain strategy?
Good question. It's not something we've published. We've had a supply chain strategy in place since 2014. That's been relatively consistent in that time. It's not something that we have published, but it's translated into the activity that we've done in events like today and all the engagement that we've done over the last 7-8 years. So you hopefully see the benefits of that strategy sort of playing out. But yeah, no, it's not something that we sort of publicly disclose. But again, it feeds into our approach as a supply chain management team in terms of how we want to work with the supply chain at all tiers. Importantly, not just it's not just about letting a Tier 1 contract and then rinsing our hands of it. We're actively involved in the mobilisation of the wider supply chain and supporting the wider supply chain. So we do take an active interest in those sub-tier levels. So we want that two-way dialogue, your feedback. We want to hear what's going on the ground as much as possible.
Thank you. And there are other resources available on the supply chain website which give a real clear indication of kind of how we go about things and things that are important to us as a project, aren't there? So there's plenty of resource on there to have a look at, which could maybe answer some of your questions.
The supply guide probably the best single document that you wish to read to give the feel for how we set ourselves up to interface with the supply chain and what you can do to get involved.
And a question here about geography. So if our offices are not near to the HS2 line of route, but we operate nationally, how can we link to the project geographically? I think that's come around because this is targeted at local businesses, but the opportunities are for everybody, aren't they, Robin? It's our contracts are let all over the country and in some places all over the world. So there isn't any geographical boundary in terms of who can get involved in the project. I think we just try to promote opportunities locally, to be a good neighbour to communities that we run through. But I don't know if you've got anything to add there, Robin.
No, I think, clearly this is a national endeavour. So we want suppliers from all corners of the country to get involved and to benefit from their involvement in the project. So clearly, depending on what you do, you may be remote from site. That's absolutely fine. In some cases, actually, we promote that in terms of off-site manufacture, off-site construction, trying to build as much of the railway remote from site, far away from it, so that we're minimising disruption to communities, and that we're building in factory controlled environments where we get really high quality, high level of safety, and all the other benefits of the manufacturing process. So we're looking to try and improve the content, the manufactured content of the railway as much as possible. And I certainly see that as a future of the construction industry more generally, is around manufacturing more, which lends itself to more remote working away from where the actual final product is being installed. So that certainly plays into the hands of suppliers that are based all across the UK.
Yeah, and we'll need people from everywhere to deliver this railway. The amount of resource and services that we need is so vast that actually, if we focused in one area, we wouldn't probably get everything we needed. Moving on, if we are already working on site and giving our client full satisfaction, would we still need to go through another tender for further works, or could we just get a variation?
Well, we have to demonstrate best value for money ultimately, as do our contractors. So hence why there's a need for competitive competitive exercises to get to the best outcome for the specific scope of work and the specific package. So yes, but that may be set up in a way that a framework agreement, for instance, you can be, if you're awarded onto a framework agreement, you can receive multiple call-offs and win a steady flow of work, which is great, and that reduces some of the tender burden of constantly having to recompete. So we clearly have to have a balanced approach to this. Yes, we need to compete opportunities to get the best outcome, to get the best supplier ultimately, because that's what we're interested in. But clearly, if you're on board, then there'll be an opportunity to win repeat work, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Hopefully that helps. Oh no, hold on.
I think we might have just lost Matt for a second there, so I'll take over for him for a second. So Robin, how can we feed back to HS2 on examples on tenders with a short response time?
The message on that, I think, would be to email us directly at our scc@hs2.org.uk mailbox. If there's specific examples you want us to have a look at, then please do just drop us a line, and we can have a look at that and pick up with the relevant contractor.
That's brilliant, thank you. Another one here, having spent time and money bidding for recent opportunities with BBVS JV, the JV decided to cancel the process post-submission as they decided to deliver in-house. Is HS2 regulating this, as we don't want to be doing their estimating services for them in providing them with check prices?
I think that's more than fair enough in terms of the comment. So no, we don't want the supply chain to be doing abortive work. Clearly, that's not something that we want to see. There may have been a reason for that. I'm not close to that specific example, to be honest. So there may have been an extenuating circumstance or a reason for why that was decided to do that in-house. But no, we don't want the market to be doing abortive work. Any opportunity that gets presented to market, we want to see that carried through and into a contract. So but we work closely with the contractors to make sure that procurement schedules are robust and the strategies are robust and not subject to change. So that's just something we need to take away, I think, and make sure that is minimised in future.
That's great, thanks Robin. Another question here from Rohit. In terms of engaging the team at HS2, would there be other opportunities to work with them on their data? I know there is heavy involvement with Tableau and our AI optimization integrate well to help optimize for reducing costs. would there be opportunities to engage the team implementing that sort of solution that may not be on a bid?
Yes, by all means. Again, this sort of talks to the innovation process, doesn't it? It's worth reiterating, as well as the Innovation Accelerator Programme, our contractors are required to put forward an innovation work bank in collaboration and dialogue with the supply chain, which then goes through a multi-stage SIFT process to get to the point where we consider whether we take ideas forward. So it's certainly worth getting in touch with them directly, and we've provided an innovation point of contact for each of the main works contractors on our contract opportunities table. So in addition to the procurement contact, there is an innovation contact that you can get in touch with directly to help them ultimately deliver their contractual requirement in terms of the HS2 contract, in terms of putting forward innovation ideas and developing those, which we then work with them to refine and sift and critique. So yeah, please do get in touch with them directly to see if that's something that would be of interest.
Thanks, Robin. We have another question here. Does best value equal cheapest?
Certainly not. So there's absolutely no appetite from our perspective for a race to the bottom on HS2 contracts. We want the best value propositions. We want to work with the best suppliers that will give us ultimately the best possible outcome in terms of a fantastic railway and a fantastic passenger experience within the budget envelope and to the time and the programme that the government have set to us. So it's not about cheapest wins, it's about can you deliver the value that we're looking for, can you help support the achievement of our strategic goals, and can you ultimately deliver high quality product or service that's going to help us yes, become more efficient, yes, become more productive, but that's not necessarily about cheapest wins in a bid process. We're looking for savings, of course, in everything we do, but that's about for the right reasons and not looking to award contracts on a lowest price basis. So yeah, think about the value you can add rather than anything else, I would suggest.
Great. Does HS2 have a say in Tier 1 to Tier 1 contract awards?
I presume that means in terms of them awarding to in-house subsidiaries and other business group entities, which if that's the case, then there's often good sound reasons for that, and actually in some cases that was something that was put forward as part of their bids in terms of their intention to utilise group subsidiary companies as part of their bid process, which is fine where it makes sense. But again, I come back to the point around value for money. It's about demonstrating value for money of doing that. So there has to be, checks and balances in place to make sure that, that is the right outcome. But they are certainly free to utilise their own in-house capabilities wherever possible. It certainly makes sense from a project perspective to do that. But clearly there has to be a demonstration of value for money at the same time.
That's great. And actually following on from that, how about Tier 1 to Tier 2 contract awards?
Yeah, so we do have oversight of that. As I mentioned in the presentation, we have visibility of who's tendering for Tier 2 packages under the Tier 1 JVs, and who's been awarded different packages for the critical packages. So we don't monitor everything, but we just certainly do for the critical packages, so the high value, more critical packages. We, as part of the NEC contracts, there is a sign-off and a ratification of those Tier 2 contract awards that HS2 makes in the project management and contract management teams. So that's something we do have an oversight of. And effectively, we're not looking to dispute the outcome in any way or interfere with the procurement process. It's about making sure that the correct process is being followed according to the procurement strategies. And again, value for money is being achieved. So yes.
Thanks, Robin. We don't have any more questions in at this time, and Matt has been able to rejoin us, so I'm going to hand back to Matt.
Sorry about that. Slight technical issue, as is to be expected occasionally, but my laptop decided to just turn itself off. So yes, thank you all very much for attending today. I hope it's been useful, and there are more sessions booked in, obviously, for the next few weeks. And I would urge you to go and sign up to next week's session, which will be around the importance of diverse supply chains to major projects such as HS2. Other than that, it just remains for me to really say thank you very much to Robin, our speakers, and thank you all for attending today. If you do have any queries at any point around the HS2 or the project, please do feel free to get in touch with us, either the supply chain team or myself in the local business team, and we will be more than happy to help. We'll be circulating the slides after the session, along with all of the relevant links. So hopefully you should have no problem getting in touch with us. If we didn't manage to answer your question today, there will be an FAQ which will follow the event, which should cover all of the questions asked today and those that we didn't have time to get through. Also, if you have any wider questions about HS2 at any point, please do feel free to contact our help desk, who are available all day, every day. And that just leaves me to say thank you very much again for attending. Apologies for the technical issues. And with that, we will close the session. Thank you.